Most yoga practitioners rely on studios to find their sense of peace. But what if I told you that the only way to truly quiet your mind isn't by booking another class, but it's by canceling your membership? Now, after years of watching dedicated students struggle to maintain consistency, I discovered a sovereign method that actually unlocks unshakable focus in literally just 30 days without ever needing a teacher's instruction ever again. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why outsourcing your discipline to a studio is actually killing your consistency and how to install a yoga sequence into your muscle memory so that you can practice anytime, anywhere, on your own terms. Trust me, I used to live that same exact chaotic cycle. I would rush in traffic to make it to that 6 p.m. class, my cortisol was spiking, only to arrive there, roll out my mat, and play this game of Simon Says and follow the teacher exactly and not feel any real shift. I realized that I wasn't actually building a yoga practice. I was just becoming more and more dependent on this business model that was just broken and was further and further away from yoga than I originally had received back in India when I was a young kid. I'm Sushmita, but you can call me Sushi, and I help busy minds quiet their racing thoughts and reclaim their sense of inner peace through Ashtanga Yoga. And if you're looking for a deeper transformation beyond just this video, then my Yoga Mastery program, which is linked down below, offers a complete step-by-step guidance that will help you build this unshakable, independent habit. But for now, let's look at why your reliance on studio classes is the number one thing that's holding you back. And there's a reason that we all fall in love with this group fitness classes, right? I've been there. I remember walking into my first group class. The music was pumping, the energy was electric, and there was just this collective sense of everyone pushing each other. And for an hour, you don't have to think. You just follow this charismatic looking yoga teacher, and you move with the crowd, and you walk out dripping in sweat, and you feel amazing. You feel like you crushed it. And I know that there's a real science behind this as well. Humans are wired for connection. And when we exercise together, our brains tend to release these feel-good chemicals or endorphins, and that's just amplified by the shared experience. And it's related to the Kohler effect, a psychological phenomenon where when we're around others, we significantly boost our own effort and our own intensity. But in a world that often feels so isolating, I understand why the sense of shared struggle, the sense of being in a community, it's undeniably magnetic. And these classes actually offer a huge amount of structure and guidance and push you to show up because they have so much variety. And for a while, trust me, it works. It's amazing. It gets you moving, it gets you motivated, and it starts you off on the process. But then for some of us, something starts to shift. That honeymoon phase of experiencing all the classes on the schedule ends, and then the very thing that once felt motivating starts to kind of reveal its own limitations. And the class that once felt like a community starts to begin to feel like a cage because you're not really progressing, you're following the same teacher, and the teacher's always optimizing for, the general level of the class. So let's talk about the biggest issue for me. I think for me, the biggest issue is dependency. Most drop-in classes are designed to create the sense that you are reliant on the teacher in order to practice. You follow the voice, you wait for the instruction, and you mimic the shape exactly as the teacher is doing it. It's basically like an adult game of Simon Says. But the moment the teacher stops talking, do you know what to do? Are you just going to stand there? What if I put you in a silent room and just gave you a mat right now? Could you practice for 60 minutes even though you've been doing yoga for 2+ years? Would you feel lost, or would you actually be able to guide yourself through something that meaningfully shifts your state? And for me, answering that question is so important because we can't rely on someone else in order just to do something that's supposed to be like brushing your teeth daily. That's the way that yoga was designed. You're not exploring your depths. You're not working with your emotions that are coming up for you on any given day. And you're just caught up in following someone else's creative sequence of flow at someone else's pace. And then you miss your own body's signals. You aren't learning yoga. You're actually moving in the opposite direction. And even though it's so popular, it feels so nice and it's all of this flow, beautiful stuff, you're moving in the direction of boga, not yoga. Look, I get it. I know how tempting it is to just have it done for you, where all you have to do is show up and you can switch your brain off and your teacher will tell you which foot to put forward and which arm to raise. And even though you love the studio vibe and the community and all the hands-on adjustments that you get, this is ultimately what makes your practice like reach a glass ceiling. It's what makes it shallow. And I know this is controversial, and I completely understand that. And I understand why you prefer having those live classes all the time. But that immersion in real-time guidance, that element of it is really essential. It's really important. But the rest of it, being chained to the system of studio classes, being chained to this schedule, all of those other things, they need to go. In 2026, we can't still be following a broken model. And I have a serious question for you. I want you to be honest with yourself when you're answering this question. Based on your current schedule, based on where you are right now, your job, your family, the way that your mind is, how busy it is with all these other things that you have going on, how many live classes can you realistically attend in the next 6 months? Now, is it 4 times a week? Is it every single week that you can do this, even when you have like busy meetings, even when your kid gets sick? Or if you actually realistically look at your calendar and how you've been this last year, is it more like maybe once or twice that you can actually make it to a studio, do the class with your favorite teacher? And the uncomfortable truth that we actually have to face here is that even though it's nice to have those ideals, if you could only attend realistically 1 or 2 classes each week, what happens to your progress? Do you become inconsistent? Do you fall off the bandwagon? Do you lose a sense of like motivation that you have right now at the start of the year? And if you compare that model where you're doing what you want, which is going to live classes, to a perfect scenario where you can practice 4 to 6 times a week, where you can have a daily practice, the gap is massive in terms of your progress, in terms of how it retrains your nervous system, in terms of the results that you're going to get. And it's not your fault. I promise you it's not your fault. It's that the system itself is broken. The way that we've been taught yoga in the modern world, that is what is at fault. And finding your favorite teacher in a confusing studio schedule is like putting yourself on a dating app. It's like you go there for the first time and you find someone you like after a long time, and then maybe you end up catching them once a week or twice a week if you're lucky. And that is honestly, it's hardly enough to retrain your nervous system to actually make this work for you. And yoga is one of those things that needs to be a daily habit. It's not as intense as strength training or HIIT, where it's enough if you do it 3 times a week. You absolutely have to do it every single day if you want to get the benefits out of it. And so when you show up on a Thursday evening and it's 7:30 a.m. in the morning, and then life happens, and then you take 10 extra minutes to make that smoothie, or your kids get into a fight and you need to break up that fight, or your partner just needs something really urgent from you, suddenly you end up being like 15 minutes late and you rush to the studio, your cortisol is spiking, you unroll your mat and there's this loud sound and everyone's like watching you, everyone's already in downward dog and you're like, ugh, I feel embarrassed, I feel awful, I'm just disorganized. And then you spend the first 20 minutes of class just beating yourself up in your head instead of following the teacher's instructions. I don't know, but does that sound like union to you? Does that sound like yoga to you? To me, that doesn't sound like yoga at all, because you will never ever find a perfect studio where the timings are perfect in a way that works for your ever-changing schedule. So if the goal is consistent, noticeable progress, but you're convinced that you just need to be in a class with your teacher every single day in order to practice, then don't you think that you're holding yourself back? Don't you think that something is wrong with that model? So what is the alternative? How can we actually fix this? We need to stop renting our peace and we need to start owning it, like really truly owning it. And this is why I teach the Mysore style method. I know it's more ancient, I know it's more boring, it's not as nice and flowy, there isn't like loud music that just takes you out of your head, but it changes everything because we flip the script. Instead of you following me, I follow you. And instead of you just copying the shape in an ever-changing random sequence, we install a sequence into your memory. We teach you the sequence step by step. And here's how it works inside my program. We give you the protocol to first set up your home shala, so you actually clean up your environment and you know how to practice at home. Then you learn the Ashtanga sequence step by step, not all at once, and then you're like thrown into this really hard sequence. And you memorize it, you learn how to practice it, and you build consistency on your own terms. And then you use the live sessions. It's not like, live sessions are completely not required. They're absolutely required. But you use those live sessions for what they're actually good for, which is direct feedback, refinement, and this sense of community. And if life gets busy and you can't make it, then you follow the videos or you send me videos so that I can check your alignment. And this way, you aren't rushing to a 6 p.m. class with your cortisol spiking and you're embarrassed that you're late. You're actually practicing in a way that works within the structure of your life, that works for your body on any given day. And finally, we have this sense of like accountability and community so that others that are also going through the same struggles that you are actually honestly share that they haven't been able to practice, so these are the things that are holding them back. And listening to other people sharing that story this last year, just noticing how much the community supports each other, it's amazing to witness. And when you know that sequence by heart, you learn how to move your body in a way that actually feels light and pain-free. If you're tired on any given day, then you can just practice much softer on that day. If you have that energy on any given day, then you can move much harder, you can push much harder. And so in this way, you're no longer like a slave to your teacher's playlist or your teacher's mood or your teacher's pace. You're tuning into the needs that you have on any specific day, and you're doing that in an intuitive dance. And this is the way that it was meant to be learned. This is the way that it was taught in Mysore. And if you notice all of the different styles that we see in studio classes today, whether it's rocket yoga, hot yoga, vinyasa, whatever else you see, it all came from the father of modern yoga, Tirumalai Krishnamacharya, and he had two main students. He had Pattabhi Jois and Iyengar. And you know Iyengar is this rigid, like hardcore thing where you use a lot of blocks and props, and Ashtanga is this like super rigorous, highly strict thing. But from Ashtanga came all of these other modes that we see today. And if you just follow the parampara, my teacher, Saraswati ji, her father is Pattabhi Jois. And so when you notice that a thing has been passed down through that lineage, it's not like my individual interpretation of how it should be taught. It's not my way of creatively sequencing things so that it satisfies your ego. I'm not saying yoga is channel your source energy or like just try and find your center. I'm not imposing my ideas of yoga on you. I'm just trying to reliably kind of pass down the thing that was taught to me. And so when you do it this way, there's a clear goal for the Mysore method. And the clear goal, forget everything else, is sovereignty. And breaking free from the dependency on these studio classes doesn't mean that you have to figure it out all on your own. You've got to open up a book and like try and memorize the poses and do it the way that people were doing it 50 years ago. It means that you're building a practice that's deeply yours, that's at your level, that doesn't ask you to do more than you need. And it means that you can build a practice that isn't easily disrupted when life gets hard. It's about taking ownership over your own well-being and actually being like, this year, I'm actually going to do something that doesn't just vanish by the end of the year, that stays with me through the ups and downs of this year. And when you master this, when you really get to the core of this, you can practice anytime, anywhere. You can practice in your hotel room, you can practice on a business trip, you can just practice for 20 minutes while you're wearing your pajamas at home alone. It doesn't matter where, but you learn how to do it on your own. And this way you stop being a consumer of this yoga market and you become a practitioner of yoga. I want you to have the tools to quiet your mind and actually learn to regulate yourself, because that for me is true empowerment. So here is a simple 3-step process to start building your own routine today. Step number 1 is to define your why and your what. Most fitness goals fail because they're vague. They're something like get in shape in 2026. We need to go a little bit deeper. Before you do a single push-up, you need to grab a journal and write down, what is the feeling I'm actually chasing? Is it a sense of strength in my body? Is it a sense of like capability? What is the feeling that I want to feel when I get to that thing? Is it like a sense of mental clarity that I will feel because I do the thing that I chose to do? Is it a freedom from having no pain in the body? What is it? This why should be your anchor through the rest of the year. And once you have your why, you need to define your what. And these are not just outcome goals. I want you to think of them as process goals. Instead of lose 10 pounds in 2026, a process goal is something like practice my yoga routine 3 times a week for 30 to 45 minutes. And now this becomes something really like tangible. It becomes an action that you can actually control. Now, step number 2 is to learn a single system. Instead of chasing random workouts, going on YouTube and deciding what to do every morning, you're going to become a student of a single system. Try a simple time-tested approach, maybe like Ashtanga Vinyasa, maybe with me, but just pick one sequence and learn it progressively. Now, when you do this, your job is not to destroy yourself every single day, it's to just practice, right? Now, for the next 3 months, you're going to become a humble student of this single system. So each week, you're going to aim for just a little bit of incremental progress. Maybe it's adding one more asana, maybe it's moving with a little bit more breath, maybe it's correcting and perfecting your form. This to me is progressive overload in its purest form, because you learn one asana at a time, and in a Mysore practice, you're actually given the next pose only when you've mastered the current one, and you really have to earn this sense of progression. You're not just exercising or you're not just pushing yourself, you're building a skill. And step number 3 is to design a flexible schedule. Now, this all or nothing mindset is the trap that we fell into last year, and we don't want to fall into the same trap this year. So a sovereign routine is one that bends but never actually breaks. And so look at your week and design a schedule into like 3 tiers. So basically tier 1 is the minimum. So on your busiest, most chaotic, most overwhelmed days, what is the absolute minimum that you can do to keep this promise to yourself? Maybe it's just 15 minutes of sun salutations. Maybe it's just breathing a little bit. Whatever it is, this is your practice that you do when you have no time. Now, this is a thing that actually keeps the habit alive, so it's very, very important to acknowledge and write this down. 2 is your standard practice. Now, your standard practice is your normal practice on any normal day when you have 45 to 60 minutes and you can actually practice. This is where you work through your normal level of practice, and you might schedule this maybe 3 or 4 times a week just to actually like build and maintain that consistency. Now, the third type, the tier 3 of these practices, is the exploration practice. Once a week or maybe once in every 2 weeks, when you have all the time in the world and you're not rushed to be anywhere, you can actually take time to explore. And this is where you explore new movements, you try new things, you do the drills, you actually workshop your way into new poses, and you really focus on your practice without the pressure of a ticking clock. This kind of flexible structure makes it impossible for you to fail. And there won't be a time in 2026 where you fall off the bandwagon, because the wagon adapts to you. It actually honors your energy and the way that your life is flowing, ensuring that you stay consistent no matter what. The group class model served its purpose. It got you through the door and it showed you the power of movement. But in 2026, it's time to graduate. It's time to stop renting a temporary feeling of fitness and start building a lifelong practice that's resilient, that's intuitive, and that's truly yours. And it's time to move from dependency to sovereignty. So if you have the power to actually create a routine that adapts to your life and honors your body and delivers this deep, lasting result, then what are you waiting for? Why not just jump in and take that journey from being a follower to a leader of your own practice? If you're ready to take the first step, there is a link in the description below. You can set up a call with me so we can chat and I can understand your goals. And if you're a good fit, then you can join my program. But even otherwise, thank you so much for your attention, for listening to me all the way to the very end. If you're enjoying these videos, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this with a friend, because then I can keep making more videos for free. But either way, thank you so much for watching till the very end. I hope you have a lovely year ahead, and namaste.